Hey everyone. Basically, I'm so mesmerized or fixated with my own face that I forget to look into the viewfinder. So I do apologize for that. But I seem to have this compulsion to continue to check my appearance, even though nothing's really going to change. I still look like the same. I still have this thing, which some of you might be wondering what that is. And I've been asked if I've been punched in the face before, and it's not. That was a birthmark that, because I'm like so pale, um, I guess if you have like a very small level of melatonin in your genetics, it means that your birthmarks, if you have them, tend to be more red. And they get darker as you get older. So I continue to look more and more like I've been punched in the face. And I don't actually have albinism. I just look like I just look like I do. I wanted to talk about basically the trials and tribulations I go through when I am. Sorry, I'm just getting a message. Oh yes, looking for pagan music for my pagan music group on Facebook and also the playlist here on YouTube. And it's interesting. It's kind of like going through the labyrinth and constantly being distracted by red herrings. If I were to do like a search, like a really obvious word, like Beltane or um, Litha or Lunasa or one of the Gaelic names for one of the holidays, if I was to look for the Morrigan or Morgaine or what else, Hawthorne, something like that, then immediately or Druid is a good word, of course, naturally. We all think of Druids. Immediately what comes up is thrash metal and doom metal and sludge metal, I believe it's called, which seems to be a trend right now. And for whatever reason, these bands have become obsessed with pagan symbolism, which is funny because when I first noticed that there were a lot of heavy metal bands that were interested in paganism, I was kind of inspired actually. Like I thought, oh, that would sound really cool because I used to listen to quite a hard version of grunge and I found it very pagan sounding. Like when I listened to music like Disturbed or I don't know, maybe Live, even Korn, I guess, I found it very pagan sounding. So I was sort of expecting a sound like that, but what a lot of these bands have done, if you look up bands like Dolmen or Omnia or even Cruachan from Ireland, Cruachan, I think, you will find that they're kind of doing this like folk metal, but it's not blended. It's not like it's not been all woven together. It's like you have the sort of folk segment that starts out very soft and plinky plunky and kind of introspective sounding and sort of like something really profound is going to happen, and then they just crash in with the heavy metal guitar. For me, it doesn't work. I have to say, like I know what they're going for. They're going for this really dramatic, impactful kind of. Sorry, it's shaking so much. It's it's the selfie stick because I don't have a tripod, but they're going for this really dramatic kind of effect where you build up and then it's like a jump scare in a horror movie. But for me, it's just sort of abrasive and also kind of boring because as soon as they start in with the heavy metal guitar, it sounds very toneless and repetitive. So it's kind of like it ends up kind of doing the opposite of what they're intending. I think it's sort of anticlimactic actually, and also I have this sort of prejudice, which is left over from reading about fairies and how the Iron Age drove them out of existence because they only used copper and bronze. I'm not sure if bronze has iron in it or not. I know it's an alloy of copper and something else, but basically, like for me, it's not very woodsy sounding. It sounds like the name. It sounds like heavy metal. It sounds really metallic. and I don't really associate that with pagan stuff because it's not woodsy, it's not stony, it's not the element that I associate it with is really metal. So it kind of it sounds like it post-urban, if you know what I mean. So I find that disappointing. So basically, my point is there's a huge hole in the music industry for anyone. I don't write music. I would love to be able to write music, but if anyone ever has an idea that they want to make music which is sort of folk inspired, but a little bit more dramatic, you could do a lot. There's a whole area that hasn't been explored, and I mean, I don't even think like the murder ballads that are really famous, like Two Sisters and Three Maidens and Carrion Crow, which are really old traditional Celtic ballads, there's no music video or that's ever been done for them, which is weird because the first time you hear them, you kind of see a music video in your head, like you can totally envision the scenes that are happening. So I'm surprised that no one's thought to do that, and I actually wonder if maybe there's a law about, like, I know that there's all kinds of copyright laws, and if those songs are in the public domain, which means anyone can sing them, and they don't have to pay royalties or anything, but because they're hundreds of years old. But I wonder if that means that they can't do a music video depicting the legend or something, if it's somehow part of like national heritage or something like that. I'm not really sure. But it just seems to me kind of like more than a coincidence that no one has done it except for some people in Russia and Germany who seem to have pulled these songs out of obscurity, and then they're doing them. But it's a little hard to get into the mood when you can hear that the accent doesn't sound Celtic. It sounds like what it is, which is Visigothic or something like that. So anyway, so basically that's the first red herring that I have. And then if I try to come at it from the side, like I might search for folk music or neo-folk, and then you have to also be quite careful because those genres are very arcane, which is to say that they're writing their music, and it's like dream symbolism. It's always about something other than what it appears to be about. So you have to kind of either research the artist's intention with the song, or really trust your own intuition that what you're presenting is in fact a pagan thing. Or sometimes I just don't care. Like, if it's pagan to me, I just post it and then I explain that it was just my idea, basically. But there hasn't been really any music since Lorena McKennitt that I would say is really pagan, like, and Celtic at the same time. Like, that would be really emblematic, even though I do think that the pagan groups and general trend of paganism has increased even since then. And Enya, I really don't consider pagan because it really sounds very choral to me, like a choir. And I don't really associate that with paganism. It sounds new agey. And that's where I draw the line. Like, if something's new agey and it's only new agey, I don't post that in the pagan group because it rubs me the wrong way. So I think I'm, as usual, I have gone blank. Like, I've talked myself into a kind of stupor. So I'm going to cut this off now and talk to you later. Alrighty, bye.